Welcome to another episode of Angling Wisdom. I'm your host, Patrick Edwards. Thanks for coming back for another show. All right, so I get this question quite often. Patrick, how do you break down different bodies of water, especially if you're going to a new reservoir? You've never been there before. So I'm going to take you through some of the tools that I use and some of the methods you should think about before taking that next big trip. So stick around for that. Welcome to the Angling Wisdom Podcast, the freshwater fishing podcast for multi-species anglers.
I've known Patrick for quite a few years, and there are a lot of people out there. It's an ego-driven industry. It's all about them. To find somebody that really wants to go find anglers for all different species, to bring them in, to give everybody a voice. This is the difference between what Patrick's doing and a lot of other shows is there's only a special few out there.
I have a very special guest all the way from Wapiti, Wyoming.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jim Zumbo. It's nice to actually spend 2.5 days fishing.
With a master angler like you, are you kidding me? This is a real treat.
Get ready for the culmination of angling wisdom and fun. I'm your host, Patrick Edwards, and this is the Angling Wisdom Podcast.
All right, today we're going to talk about breaking down different bodies of water. It's an exciting topic because if you are spending lots of money to go somewhere, if you're using your vacation time and you're driving a long ways and investing a ton of time, it's good to know that you're going to a place where you're probably going to catch fish, and you probably want to spend some time doing some research to make sure that you're doing the best things possible for that trip. So I'm going to just take you through a little bit of the tools that I would suggest so that you have a great time, you catch lots of fish, hopefully, and you'll be more confident when you show up on that body of water. So this is going to be a couple different parts. So this is part one of a two-part series. The first thing that we're going to talk about is doing your homework prior to the trip. And a lot of people take that for granted. Most people will just pack up everything, head to the body of water and just say, hey, when I get there, I'll talk to the guy in the local bait shop. I'll go out and I'll catch the fish and everything will be fine. And sometimes that works, sometimes that does not. So number one, if you're going to a new body of water, the number one thing you should do is get a hold of somebody who runs that fishery and ask some questions. So their local DNR, their game and fish department, whoever it is that's responsible for that fishery, talk to the biologist, get an idea what kind of fish are available, because sometimes what you read online is not actually accurate. So figure out what species you'll have available, figure out what the forage base is. So an example would be if you're going to a walleye reservoir and your whole trip is around catching walleye, figure out what they're eating. See if they're eating minnows, if they're eating crawfish, who knows what they're eating. Talk to the biologists that test the fish, that look at them every year, and figure out exactly what it is that those fish are after. Knowing the forage base is very important. Also ask them questions like, hey, I'm coming in May, or I'm coming in June, or I'm coming in September. Where should I be looking for these fish? Where are most people catching them? Ask them for some spots. Most of the time, those guys will provide them because they want you to fish that fishery and they'll want you to come back year after year because it's good for the economy. It's also good for a lot of the businesses that rely on that fishery. So ask some questions, but start with a biologist. I would just tell you it's super helpful. And they're going to give you, most of the time, a lot of really good information. Sometimes they don't know exactly everything, and of course that's not their job, is to know exactly how you should catch fish there. But if they can give you at least some idea about the forage base, if they can give you some ideas about where to start, that will be very helpful. And typically they know the best time of year to come. So if you, again, are spending a lot of money and you're using up your vacation time and you want to use it well, it's probably best to know when the best time of year is to show up and fish there. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of these places will have websites. So your DNRs, your Wyoming Game Fish, Fish and Game Department, whoever it is, will have a website dedicated to what kind of fish are being stocked in the particular body of water that you're looking at. I'm going to focus on reservoirs for the sake of this discussion because I live out west and that's what we have a lot of. So let's say that you're going to a reservoir and you want to see what's been stocked in that reservoir, how many fish are being stocked in that reservoir. That is super helpful. So after you talk to the biologist, you might find out they don't stock any of the fish that you're trying to go after. For example, a lot of Wyoming fisheries are not stocked with walleyes, but there's still walleyes in them. So if you were to go to the website first and say, oh man, I thought Glendo had walleye in it, but I don't see a whole lot of stocking, or Boysen, like I don't see any stocking of walleye. Well, there's lots of walleye in there, but they're naturally reoccurring and they're sustaining themselves. They don't need any help. So you should probably know that talking to the biologist before you go and look at the website and get super confused. But I'm going to pull up an example for you and show you what the Wyoming Game and Fish stocking report looks like. So you can just Google it. Just Google Wyoming Game and Fish stocking report. This is really helpful. You can look all the way back to 1985 up through 2025. You can search by county, which is very helpful. You can search by species. So if you just want to look for one particular species, let's do that just for the sake of this conversation. Let's look at kokanee salmon. A lot of people like to look for kokanee, and we're going to look at the stocking between 2020 and 2025. I didn't narrow it down. I can always narrow it down more, but you can see it's going to give me a stocking date, the species, the number stocked, the length that they were stocked at, the water, and the county. So you can go through, you can narrow it down. You can see there were a lot of them stocked because there's quite a few pages down here, but you can do that for whatever species that you want, which is kind of fun. We could look at channel catfish and see if there were any stocked during that time. Sure enough. So you can see several places where there are quite a few, Glendo Reservoir being one of those places. So if you want to catch channel cat, that might be a place to look. Here's another 28,000. So it is super helpful. You can sort it by different things. So if you want to sort it by county, you can sort it by county by clicking on that. You can sort it by the water name. You can sort it by all kinds of different factors. It just depends on how you want this to display. Another really popular one would be like tiger trout. So I could search for tigers because they're really cool. And I can see all the places that they've been stocked over the last 5 years. And again, I can go way back if I want to. And so this is a really helpful tool just so that you can see exactly what's going on. So these kind of tools, most states have them. It's a good way for you to see what's available, see what's out there. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that. I mean, that would be my number 2 thing, is do some research that way on their site. The third thing that I would say that you should definitely do, do some Google Earth checks. So I'm going to show you Google Earth as well and just give you an idea of kind of what I look at. Google Earth is free. This is a reservoir that I've fished before. And what you'll notice is there's a lot going on here. So I'm going to kind of break it down for you a little bit. But let's say that there's walleye in this reservoir. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, okay, where are my inlets and outlets? Where is the water coming into the reservoir? Where is it going out? I want to identify those places because typically throughout the year, that's where the fish are going to congregate at certain times a year. Then I'm going to look at, okay, based on those places where they would go to spawn and go to do their thing, where would they go out to feed? Where would be some prime places? So you can see there are islands out here. Those are typically walleye magnets points. There's some key points out here. I would definitely focus on those. There's some pinch points as well. So here's another big point and then a pinch point through here. But you can see the different contours. There's some great locations. I would, pull this up on either OnX. You can do it on Google Maps if you just want to do it for free. Mark some spots that would be points of interest for you to go and fish. And I would look it over, I would mark it up, I would make a plan, and I'd say, okay, Spot number 1 is going to be this point adjacent to the inlet because I'm fishing early in the year. And so I know the fish are probably going to be in that location. You will also want to kind of get an idea, if you can, of what the actual bottom is going to be. And sometimes you can scroll in pretty far. You can get an idea of whether it's rock or sand. It's hard to tell on this one a little bit. I mean, I know because I've been there, but you can zoom in and you can look. Sometimes you can see sunken islands. So like in the case of this place, you can see there's some good structure right here. I would fish this spot because you have some shallow going off into deep water. There's probably going to be fish hanging around there. And this little pinch point right here in between these two islands is probably going to have fish, and probably on these shoulders right here. So you're going to want to identify these spots before you leave so that you have an idea of what you're looking at when you get there. Okay. Also, you're going to look for the adjacent boat ramps. So where can you launch your boat so that you kind of where to start. If the boat ramp is 20 miles away, that might be a bit of a challenge. So you're going to have to factor that in while you're doing this and just make sure that you're happy with that and that you're okay with traveling that far. Sometimes you'll get to a body of water and you'll realize, man, I wanted to fish this place I saw on this map. Fort Peck's a great example. It's like, man, I saw this really great place, but I don't know that I have enough fuel cans to get there because it's so far from a boat launch site. So those are some pieces of homework you definitely want to do. Another thing, so that this would be the next thing that I would say, is you can call the local bait shop. You can call them ahead of time. Not only can you typically lodge there, a lot of them provide lodging, but you can ask them questions and just say, hey, I was thinking about coming up and I want to stay for X amount of days and I want to fish for this fish species. What do you think would be a really ideal time to be there? What should I be using for lures? They may have like a super secret weapon lure and just say, yeah, you will definitely want to have these when you show up and you want to fish this depth of water. And they may even give you some very specific spots of fish this island, fish this point, fish this inlet, fish this outlet, whatever. But do your recon ahead of time before you spend all that money. Spend a little bit of time trying to figure out where the most ideal places are on the reservoir. Figure out if it's got the species that you want. Make sure that it has everything that you're looking for. Make sure you have the right tackle. Again, you don't want to spend all that money. You don't want to spend your vacation time going to this place and then be disappointed when you get there. That is terrible. And I've been there where I just kind of went and I regretted it later because I could have been a lot more successful. There's also map companies out there too. There's apps on your phone that you can get if you want to get like contour maps. You can do all kinds of research nowadays with the technology that we have. There's a lot of different tools available to you. So I would say take advantage of those so that you're not wasting your time and money, and just do all that ahead of time. Now, I'm going to get into part 2 on the next one. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about new reservoirs, rivers, lakes, some things to look for, maybe some things to avoid, but that'll be in part 2. I do want to also say I've got some of these hats back here. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports in both Riverton and Casper are now carrying these. So go see our friends Brian and Richard and pick up a hat. I'm getting restocked on my supply. These are actually all sold back here. But if you want to get an Angling Wyoming hat like I'm wearing here, please let me know. Just send me a message and I'll work with you to get that figured out. Or if you live in Riverton or Casper, just go down to the local bait shop and see if you can buy one from Rocky. Those guys are amazing, and I really want to say thank you to those guys for carrying the hats. And we've got some more designs coming out here in the future. But don't forget, go to anglingwisdom.com. We've got all kinds of different resources there. I've done shows on specific reservoirs around the state of Wyoming, specific fishing techniques for walleye and trout, even species-specific things on carp and brook trout, all kinds of different things. So go to our website, anglingwisdom.com. You can look at all those resources. You can sign up for my email newsletter. That one's really helpful. It'll tell you when we've got new episodes coming out or recipes or whatever it may be. So go check out Angling Wisdom. You can follow me on the socials at either at Angling Wyoming or at Angling Wisdom. At Angling Wyoming is more like my personal fishing page. Angling Wisdom being more page for this show. And until next time, I'll see you out on the water.
Angling Wisdom has been brought to you by TB Custom Rods and PK Lures. Don't forget to subscribe to Angling Wisdom on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Also, go to anglingwisdom.com for more fishing content. Until next time, I'll see you out on the water.